Hey guys, and welcome to the third episode of the Film Frauds podcast. So today's going to be a pretty solid one. I'll keep the introduction short, but we go over some recent movie news with the Snyder Cut coming out, and then we talk about The Handmaiden. Oh yeah, Matt and I should preface. Then we talk about The Handmaiden as Matt's movie recommendation for the week, and then we go into a brief rundown of what we have been watching. So we're also going to continue the trend at the end of this podcast, which I will not spoil. I give my recommendation for episode 4 for next week's. It's a solid one. I look forward to it. I think this is a really good podcast. It's really funny, at least for me. But I think the handmade discussion is really solid. We do talk about some spoilers, but we give a heads up. We do give our non-spoiler kind of thoughts beforehand. But yeah, solid episode. We're also going to be start doing highlights. So we're just going to take some clips out and put them from each podcast and then put them up. Hopefully, one or two should be up with episode 3, but after that, expect one or two more each time. I know Matt is doing the Snyder Cut highlights where we talk about the Snyder Cut. Matt's doing that one, and then I'm going to make the Handmaiden highlights. So that gives you at least a brief snippet of other stuff that's going on. But yeah, enjoy the episode, guys. Thanks.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the most must-listen-to podcast on YouTube. Welcome to
Film Frauds.
That's right. Speaking right now is one half your hosting team, Matt, and before me on my laptop is the one and only timid Tyler.
Are we back to the nicknames?
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. We had no other episodes on any other platform.
Yeah, this is the first ever time I've ever done this before. Do not look up any other Film Frauds.
Your Instagram followers definitely don't. They're like, God, episode 1 again?
Yeah, exactly.
Damn it. But thanks for listening, guys, for our second one, got like almost 20 views?
Yeah.
Oh, that was really cool.
No, that was great. That was probably the best I've ever done.
I saw that. You texted me and you're like 17 views.
Wait, I'm going to check it right now to see if there are more views.
Well, while you're doing that, I'll just lay out what we're talking about this episode. So we just got one little brief movie news that's
18 views.
18 views. Yeah, we're rich.
Yes.
We got some brief movie news. We're going to talk about The Handmaiden, and then we're just going to briefly run down what we've watched, what we've, I guess, played, or any media we've been kind of going through. Because I don't know.
But why are we watching The Handmaiden?
Oh, because I came up with a very bright idea that I definitely didn't steal from anyone else's podcast. To at the end of the week, each week, one of us recommends a movie, then we watch it, and then we discuss it for the following week. So for episode 4, we'll discuss a movie that I'm going to recommend at the end of this episode. And for this episode, Matt recommended one at the end of last episode. So, Matt, what brief movie news do we have to start the week?
Well, this is very important movie news for some reason. Warner Bros. And HBO Max are working together to release the Snyder Cut.
Do you know how much? Did you see the reports of how much money they're putting into this?
No, I did not see that.
I think it's something where I think it's either $20 or $30 million they're putting in.
Wow.
So what's the? So we saw Justice League together, right? Did we? I can't remember.
You saw it for the second time. That was my first time seeing it.
Yeah, so I've seen it twice. I haven't thought about the movie since I saw it the second time. I'll be honest. It's like a completely mediocre movie.
Yeah, it's not good, but it's not offensively bad like the Zack Snyder Justice League. The Zack Snyder superhero movies.
We can discuss that. Maybe one day I'll recommend we watch Man of Steel. So I don't know.
I've already seen it 4 times.
I've seen it more times than you. Okay. I'll be on the record and say I really like Man of Steel. Matt detests it with all of his soul and being. We both really don't like Batman versus Superman.
When we saw it in the theaters, you stormed out as soon as it was over. Like as soon as the credits started, you just left immediately.
I was a little insulted. I thought it was really I don't know. And then Justice League is like this really like toned down. It's an hour. It's an hour. It's 2 hours flat.
Yeah.
They cut a bunch of stuff. It looks very like if you go back and if you just look at any shots in the movie, it looks very kind of like extra glossy. Like as much as we might not like Zack Snyder for because he's not really a great director in any regards, I feel like there's a great
screenwriter.
Yeah. I feel like there's at least a certain amount of style with his movies that is still commendable. Like the shots in Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman look good. I think the
The
movie
shots in
looked good.
Batman vs Superman look good. The shots in Man of Steel did not look good.
Okay, I'm gonna respectfully disagree. I think, but there's a certain like glossiness to Justice League that just looks really fake.
Because Market Group said they like brighter Marvel movies, so they had to go to iMovie Maker and fix the tint, fix
How do you know?
fix the
How do
color
you know that?
background. from gray Zack Snyder nightmare to fun, happy Guardians of the Galaxy-esque cinematography and visuals.
I don't know. Like this is a movie that I just don't like. I'm gonna watch it out of like sick curiosity.
Yeah.
But it's coming out in 2020. What do you think they're changing? What are they adding to
Well,
it?
that's the thing. Is I don't know how much more different the movie will be because there are a lot of the Zack Snyder film is in Justice League, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's just some recuts and re-edits done from Joss Whedon, so it's hard to think that this movie is going to be radically different. Like I saw a news post that said like, oh, there's going to be more of like the post-apocalypse stuff going on.
But
Who
that's
knows
not
what more is. That could be like 5 minutes. Like remember that how great that Batman Superman trailer was, and you're like, whoa, why is Batman like looking like he's in a Mad Max world? Why is all this
Yep.
crazy stuff happening? Then you see the movie, and it's 2 hours of people talking, and
It's
really,
inconsequential too. Ultimately, to the end of the movie.
inconsequential. In the last 30 minutes is just a CGI fest, and your head hurts, and you leave with a headache and wanting to vomit.
I'm just like, yeah, that's a very good point. So what are they going to change? There are definitely scenes on the cutting room floor. Well, it's basically anything. If it's a Zack Snyder cut, it's anything that they just cut out for Josh Whedon, and it's going to be a lot of the original shots. So the one thing I know that there's the glaring difference is when, spoilers, Superman's resurrected and they all fight him for a little bit, and that really like overexposed city street, because that original shot, if you look in the trailer, was meant to be shot at night. It was going to be at night. So what? They're just going to replay that scene, but it's going to be dark and it's going to be rainy and it's going to be more.
It's still going to be the same scene. Gal Gadot's going to still go, Kal-El, no.
No, you're better than that.
Like visually it'll look different, and maybe there'll be a couple of extra scenes, but will those scenes just be long and boring like every other Zack Snyder movie?
Oh my God, I don't know. And
with really obvious dialogue and Jesus imagery? Like sorry.
So what happens if they keep all the Josh Whedon stuff in, but then just add all the Zack Snyder stuff in? How long is this movie going to be?
Well, I think the Joss Whedon stuff will be all out. Like,
you think so?
If it's a Snyder cut, then it's not. There's not going to be any Joss Whedon stuff in it.
What are they spending $20 to $30 million on? Because they're not getting any of the actors back.
CGI crap that's going to be all thrown in the last 30 minutes.
Oh my God! I can tell you that there's a dude who was cast to play Darkseid, Ray Porter. Because I was looking at this stupid thing.
That name sounds familiar, but I don't remember.
He did voice work for Darkseid, and he put on I think they're gonna introduce Darkseid in this movie, but
who cares? Because they're not gonna go through with it.
They're not. They're done. The series is done. Everyone's it's a mess. I don't know. Do you remember Justice League was gonna be part 1 and part 2? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that now.
And then they're just like, no.
Remember the Flash movie was gonna come out?
Oh yeah.
Does that movie have a director now?
I thought the dude who did it was signed on for it, but didn't he? Everyone in Under the Sun has dropped out of that movie because they're like, oh my God, you have not. Well, basically, what is the rumor that movie is going to be the flashpoint to basically reset everything? Be like, hey,
we fucked up.
We fucked up. Here's our excuse. That's why they're probably rushing so much to get that movie done, because they want to have an excuse for why Robert Pattinson is Batman. I don't know.
I mean, I think I'll enjoy Justice League, the Snyder Cut, more because we can watch it probably at our friend's house.
Yeah.
And drink while we're watching it. It's gonna be better because you won't be stuck in a movie theater with 100 other people and being trapped there and being forced to watch it. You can, maybe I'll take a bathroom break just to calm my brain down so I don't get a tumor on it from looking at so much crap.
I like to think that we're gonna watch it at our friend Mark's house, and then we just kind of there's a point where we're 3 hours into the movie and there's still 35 minutes left, and you just get up and leave. I've seen enough.
And we're just watching it and we're like, this is literally the same movie.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, that was the big news. It's hey, it's definitely
Zack
coming.
Snyder hasn't learned from his mistakes. He's gotten worse as a director as his filmography has gone along. Dawn of the Dead is his best movie.
When the hell did Dawn of the Dead came out in 2004?
Yes.
What movies has he made? So he made
did that horrible Sucker Punch movie, that horrible 300 movie,
300,
the horrible Man of Steel movie, and then the horrible Batman vs Superman movie.
There's no other movies in between? It's Dawn of the Dead, 300, Sucker Punch.
I think
then we get the superhero movies. Isn't he coming out with another one?
I don't know.
Who knows? He doesn't. Yeah,
Well, he
I
doesn't
just
learn from his mistakes, so I don't know what people are expecting. It's going to be long and it's boring. It's going to be crap. This is going to be overly self-indulgent, and nothing's going to happen, and it's the last 30 minutes, and that's going to be the whole movie.
does he think he's like, this will get him back on track? They'll bring me
Yeah.
back for Justice League 2. Except Henry Cavill's gone, Ben Affleck's gone, Ezra Miller's probably gone, Gal Gadot's still going.
Yeah.
Is
What's his name? Jason Momoa.
Jason Momoa, is he
Had
still
the
going?
best movie in the DC cinematic universe.
I'm all for this. Honestly, I've made this point, but as time goes past, I think Aquaman was one of the best movies of
I
2018.
rewatched it on HBO, and it's not bad.
It's good. It's a great movie, and it's absurd. And I wish Justice League was like that. But yeah, so we are, so we're not a big fan of the Zack Snyder cut, or we just,
No.
just don't care. Who cares? Whatever. All right, Matt. That was our one movie news. We could have talked about the Tenet trailer, but who cares?
Yeah, they didn't really give anything away. Like, it's going to be a Christopher Nolan movie.
Yeah, it'll be good, and we'll leave, or we just won't see it, and we'll go see Valerian again instead.
Yeah.
It's the dumbest mistake of our lives. All right, Matt.
Lorelei.
If you were, you'd be my record player.
If you were a record, I'd play you first.
And I left. I've never left a movie before the credits came up, but I left Valerian before the credits came up.
Oh, man.
They said that line
was having the time of his life, though.
when Rihanna transformed from an alien into Rihanna. He's like, yes. Turn around, we're like, huh. Now I've never stormed out of a movie before. I at least the credits came up for Batman vs Superman, and I made it.
Yeah.
Literally, he said that line, I got up and I left. I'm like, all right, we're good. I didn't miss anything.
Speaking of bad movies, we're going to be talking about the polar opposite of a bad movie.
Yeah, the
right
complete
now.
polar opposite of
Movie
Batman
I
vs
recommended
Superman.
for Tyler to watch last week.
No, you've actually been recommending it since 2017.
Yeah.
We are now halfway
Finally,
through 20.
This is the greatest moment of my life.
I should listen to you more. So yeah, we're talking about The Handmaiden. It's a 2016 directed Park Chan-wook.
Park Chan-wook.
Park Chan-wook, who made Old Boy.
Yeah.
Has he done other stuff?
He did Old Boy. He did that movie Stoker that came out a couple of years ago. I've seen Old Boy, I've seen Handmaiden, and I've seen Lady Vengeance.
I haven't seen Lady Vengeance.
All those three movies are really good, but he has a lot of other good movies. Like Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance is apparently really great. I've heard people say it's better than Old Boy, but I haven't seen that. Cannot confirm. And there's a movie called Thirst, which is a vampire movie that came out in the late 2000s, which I heard is really good.
Damn. Okay, so I have some filmography to catch up on.
Lady Vengeance is really good. I've seen that, and I would recommend that. It's pretty disturbing, though.
So yeah, The Handmaid. So Matt, please explain, because I saw it for the first time last night. So please
I watched it for the fourth time last night.
So please explain.
I've seen every year. I've seen 2017, 2018, 2019, now 2020.
Well, I was like an hour into it, and then I get a Snapchat from you, and it just says, "Fuck, I have to rewatch it now." I was like, "Oh, nice."
Yeah.
Because I started Snapchatting you. I was like, "Oh my god!" I was like, "What is this?"
So
describe your history with it.
Spoilers, and then make a huge disclaimer saying spoiler.
Yeah.
Give our general thoughts on it, and then.
Yep.
Okay, so the very bare bones plot of this movie is that it takes place in Japanese occupied South Korea, and it follows this burglar or
a thief,
named Suki. She's like a younger woman living in like a very poor South Korean area, and then this other South Korean con artist comes to her and says, I'm going to be disguising myself as a Japanese aristocrat for this very rich family in South Korea, and I want you to be the handmaiden of the heiress, this Japanese heiress I'm trying to seduce, so I can marry her, and then I can throw her into an insane asylum, and I can get all of her money.
Yep, that's basically it. And that's the movie. And
but the Japanese heiress is living with her uncle, who is a.
Oh, you froze. Oh, we might have to cut this audio out. Matt is currently very frozen. I do not know what's recording anymore. Oh wait, hold on. You froze for a little bit.
Oh yeah, you froze too.
Okay.
My internet connection's unstable this time.
Oh no. Okay, so go back. Because I'll have to edit this audio out. Hey, behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So she's living with his uncle.
Yeah. So she's living. The Japanese heiress is living with her uncle, who is like who is a Korean man who assisted the Japanese in helping take over Korea during the 1800s, and he makes his living off of forging classic literature and then auctioning it off, and then having live readings of erotic literature that her niece, the Japanese heiress, has to read for these rich these rich Japanese aristocrats.
And
that's the general plot.
Yep. We'll get to spoilers. We'll keep like a general discussion, but
and then shenanigans ensues.
Definite shenanigans. Oh my god. Okay, so basically, the best way to describe this movie, at least for me, from my single perspective of watching it, is I think there's very few films out there that can really kind of accurately convey like a relationship and at least kind of like, hey, these characters very clearly love each other. I think there's very few movies because you're looking again, a 2-hour medium is really difficult to establish a relationship, build a connection. You have to have the arc, and you have to basically resolve a movie. I think When Harry Met Sally is one of those that kind of perfectly does it. Annie Hall does it.
Yeah.
Any movies that are entirely like that, I think the Before trilogy does it.
500 Days of Summer does it.
Well, yeah. I don't know. 500 Days. Well, we can talk about that movie. I'm not super high on 500 Days of Summer.
I haven't seen it for a long time, but I remember liking it when I was in middle school when I watched it.
Like, this is what love should be. I love Joseph Gordon-Levitt. No, I think the Before trilogy does. Yes, he did. But no, because the Before trilogy works because it's an entire hour and 45-minute movie of just them exploring the relationship. But what The Handmaiden does is it wraps its narrative around. So the movie's basically set as a kind of like a play with 3 separate. Oh, Matt is frozen again. Matt's connection is unstable. Oh, man. Hello.
Hello.
You're back.
I'm going to move to the kitchen.
Okay, I'm going to pause the recording real quick.
Yes.
Be right back, guys. And we're back. Matt changed locations. There's cats in his background now, which I won't show you, but...
Because you don't know how to put video into the...
I don't know how to put video. Also, I'm wearing a neck guard, and you guys don't need to see that right now. You
look very European right now, Tyler.
I do. I feel really European. Yeah. So basically I was saying that the movie's set up in a 3-act kind of play structure, part 1, part 2, part 3.
Yes.
And the movie very kind of expertly utilizes those 3 parts to kind of further develop their relationship. We'll get more into that in spoilers. But I think there are 3 things, and I think it's very hard to call things masterpieces of filmmaking.
But in this
scenario, it's really, really applicable. I think it's a masterpiece of storytelling. I think it has incredibly well fleshed out characters and a romance that basically is so believable that in the movie's 2 hours and 25 minutes, a little bit less than that.
And I'm assuming you did subtitles, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That the movie it's so convincing, and I think that's a very hard thing to do.
Yeah. You're like entranced in a movie when it's 2.5 hours long and it has subtitles, and like at least for me, like you don't even realize you're reading subtitles anymore. You're just so engaged in the plot that it doesn't feel like a shorter read while you're watching the movie.
Yeah. I also think the movie's really great in pacing. I think part 2 occurs about an hour and 10 minutes into the movie. Part 2 is about 45, 50 minutes long.
Yeah.
And it honestly, the part 2 ends, and I couldn't believe 50 minutes had gone by.
Yeah. That's not even like the best part of the movie too. Like
it's not the best part of the movie.
It's getting better and better with each part. And
there are definite elements of the movies that are surprising. I think the performances all around are great. Yeah. It's surprisingly very kind of it's a smaller kind of movie than I would expect. They also do a really great thing where basically they go. It's set not necessarily in modern times, but midnight 20th century.
Yeah, I think so.
But they do a really.
It's pre-World War II.
So sorry, early-ish 20th century.
Yeah.
But they do
like
really
1890s or something.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, it's not 1890s.
Well, it's pre-World War II. Let's just leave it
okay. Yeah, because there's basically cars and there's electricity.
Yeah, true. They are cars. Yeah.
But they really are. They create an atmosphere by establishing, hey, the area where they're set is a mixture basically of Japanese architecture and kind of modern English architecture.
Yes,
so
Korea.
In Korea.
Yeah.
So you get this really excellent like mix of kind of modernism and kind of Victorian era kind of style.
It's really cool to see the cars like a cars pull up, so this looks like an ancient palace.
But then you go inside of the house, and it's like they get around a lot of electricity by having constant blackouts. But it's that really kind of unique style, it's also you're isolating these characters, so you're in one kind of setting that is so unique and so kind of that the setting becomes almost a character of itself. It's really really fascinating.
Kind of haunting too. Did you get like a haunt?
Matt's internet cut out again. He looks like his audio cut out, and he's like, it's like, oh, his internet's really bad today. Now I'm just staring at cats. Hello? Matt's
Yeah, I'm
back.
here.
Okay. You asked if I got a haunting vibe from it.
Haunted house vibe.
Haunted house. Yeah. Mainly because a lot of the scenes are set at night with dim lighting and during blackouts. Yeah. But
Yes.
I don't know. So what about you? What are your favorite parts about this movie without getting into spoilers?
So the characters first, especially the two women, the two female leads,
Yep.
Suki and Lady Hideko.
Yep.
And they're, like you said, like their relationship is so complex. Like you think you'd be following them for like 5 seasons of a TV show.
Yep.
When really you're just with them for 2.5 hours. And I noticed this because I've seen the movie 4 times now, so
Yep.
I feel like when you watch it for the first time, you're more focused on what's going on in the plot.
Yep.
Like for me, I was watching and I'm like, this is a really well edited and directed movie. Like for a movie that's 2.5 hours long,
Yep.
there really isn't much there really aren't too many lingering shots. Like it's very crisply edited. Like things
Yep.
are always flowing. Like when people are walking through a hallway, it's like shot of them walking through a hallway, quick shot them opening the door to the room they're walking into. Scene happens. Like there's little things that you don't notice really until like you've seen it 4 times that make you understand why the movie's pace is as fast as it is, because it's so well directed. There's so many great shots and there's so much variety in the shots too. Like I can't really go into like specifics because I'm not a film director, but
Yep.
I don't really know what the titles, what the moves are called, but
Yep.
there's so much variety in the shots that just really liven up the movie that makes 2.5 hours not feel the length that they are.
Yeah, and the movie does a really great job of wherein moments are meant to be impactful to the characters. Oftentimes, the pacing slows down, so you're in the moment with the characters. There's one specific I'll get into with spoilers, but it's interaction between the two main actresses in the woods, where you see kind of their relationship start to develop, where the camera kind of cuts and holds on their faces, and you kind of get to see the emotion in their eyes. I think what's really impressive about Park Chan-wook as a director, and I've only seen Old Boy, is his movies he manages to get actors and actresses that are so great at conveying emotion.
And so they don't have to say their emotions.
Yep.
Like you can tell if they're directing. Sorry to cut you off, but you can tell if they're directing and acting, like what they're feeling. Not going, I am now feeling great emotion for you.
Yep.
As am I.
Yeah, as am I. I love you. I love you too. And you're like, no. There's it's hard to talk about this movie without spoilers because a lot of my compliments of the movie rest around specific narrative elements that I think elevate the movie to something, to kind of like a storytelling masterpiece.
Okay, so we should probably go into spoilers now, but before
the movie's on to stream on Amazon Prime.
Yes.
It is a hard R movie. I want to throw
if you're like our age, do not watch it with your family.
Do not watch your family. I will just there's graphic sex scenes. There's also other stuff. It's just graphic content movie. It's a hard R movie and it earns its R rating.
Yes.
It is longer. It's 2 hours and 25 minutes, but like you said, Matt, the pacing is done so well that it's one of those movies where length is never an issue. Because anytime you see 2 hours and 25 minutes, but it's not. It flies by. It has some of the best performances, some of the best storytelling, and some of the best just cinematography in general, with really kind of expertly crafted uses of setting as character. It's a must-see movie, and I can see why you've been holding its praise for so long.
Yeah, my second favorite movie of the 2010s. So and I've seen a lot of movies, so it's pretty high praise considering we see like 100 movies a year.
Yeah.
Well, especially during like 2015, 2016.
We just watched every single goddamn. I still haven't seen Jason Bourne.
I saw it.
Is it bad?
It's not bad. I saw it. The Jesus Christ is Jason Bourne guy.
Yeah.
He has the spoilers for Jason Bourne. He has the best death scene.
Is he really?
It's literally towards the end. Jason Bourne's like killing like all the bad guys, and he tries to stop Jason Bourne by just running at him, and he just gets shot in the head, and he falls over, and it's the greatest thing. I laughed in the theater when that happened. So it was like a year of build up for that death scene.
Is that where you just like that was when you felt cathartic release? You're like, yes.
Yeah, it was great.
No, just a backstory. Matt and I went and saw so many movies at the time where Jason Bourne, that movie was coming out. So that one line in that trailer, oh my God, it's Jason Bourne.
Yeah.
We saw it so many times that anytime it came on, we laughed. I'm glad he's dead, though.
Me too.
All right.
Okay, so spoilers for the
Handmaiden. My favorite character is the Count Fujiwara.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
No, he's a great character. I know
He's-
me to sound surprised.
No, because I really want to talk about what kind of character he is because he's so intriguing because he goes to this really great kind of narrative shift where okay, well first we should talk about the fact that this movie is twist upon twist upon twist upon twist upon twist. Um, Basically, the first hour of the movie, you're supposed to see these two characters kind of, you're learning the relationship, but you're seeing it from Suki's perspective, where you think that her and the Count are in it together, tricking Lady Hideko. But then, part two, you find out more backstory about Lady Hideko, which is horribly sadistic.
Tragic,
It's tragic. But then
Yeah.
you find out that the Count Fujiwara and Lady Hideko are scheming together to basically help each other, and Suki's going under the bus. But then Hideko and Suki find out, and then they scheme against the Count and her uncle, and it's great.
What was your reaction when, when the first twist is revealed, where Suki is at the insane asylum, and then it turns out that it looks like that Hideko and the Count are framing her? Were you like?
So basically, this is why I love this movie, and this is why I think it's really a great kind of romantic movie, because it completely restructures the entire first part of the movie, because you see a lot of manipulation from Hideko, but you also get to see these moments where her and Suki genuinely bond.
Yes.
And that's the one shot I was talking about where Suki talks about her mother to Lady Hideko, and you can the camera like holds on their faces, and you can see that like Lady Hideko's like getting kind of like genuine like sympathy, not sympathy, but there's a connection there that she's never had before, and that's
they both lost their mothers at young ages. They don't really know who their mothers are.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you also hear her telling her things that once you learn about the environment that she's in, which we can talk about, that she's probably never had this kind of care given to her, and then that completely restructures it, because by the time you hear by the time the betrayal comes along, you can genuinely feel you're like, oh, she actually loves her.
Yeah.
And there's the build up, because you see the moments where their relationship is built and why they are connected so much. But you also get these really great moments with like the letters, because Suki's illiterate, where it completely restructures the first part of the movie. So little things, that's why I want to rewatch it so bad, because I really want to rewatch the first part. Knowing what I know.
It jumps around and time a lot, but it feels so seamless when it does it too.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't never feels like you're like, wait, what timeline are we in right now? And it goes back to other scenes, giving you more context to those scenes, and it's really well done. It's really and it never feels jarring. You're never trying to figure out what's going on, because it's so well handled.
Yeah. What was your reaction the first time you ever saw it?
I was like, it definitely changed the way I was viewing the movie. I was like, no, like I was really mad because I liked Suki a lot.
Yeah.
And I didn't. That's when I knew I was like, I have no idea where this movie's going, because because like I knew it was like, oh, there's still like an hour and a half left, so I don't know what's gonna happen. But like, so you're thinking like, oh, how is this insane asylum gonna play a role? And what's gonna happen with Lady Hideko? And then when you start learning about Lady Hideko's past, you kind of forget about Suki, because you're so intrigued by her upbringing, living with her aunts, and like seeing how she lost her mind.
Yep.
And because she under the service of the crazy uncle.
Yep.
And like you're just it always keeps your interest. So it's like I kind of Suki's well-being kind of went on the back burner for me when you start learning about Lady Hideko's past.
Yeah, it does a really great job of because you also start to see in that first part, you get to see Suki kind of, well, you definitely get to see her start to fall in love with Hideko. So you get these really two great perspectives of the first part of the movie is definitely a story centered around Suki, and you get to see her change, and then that second part restructures it so you get more of understanding of Lady Hideko.
And then the third part is like both their perspectives together.
Yeah, there's another great part where they trash the uncle's library.
Yeah,
and it's just these long cuts of her going bookshelf to bookshelf and just tearing stuff apart. And it's on the nose, clearly.
Yeah.
But
it feels earned. Like you feel like, even my fourth time watching it, I felt this great feeling of triumph still, because it's it's like they're finally taking control into their own hands, and it feels great.
Yeah. I want to talk about the expert use of the basement. Oh my! Oh yeah. So basically, the basement is something that is first teased when the uncle leaves and they have freedom for a week, and he's like, "Hey,
Yeah,
don't forget about the basement." You learn more about it, and the first showing you ever get of it is you just hear kind of noises in the background. You
yeah,
don't really know what's going on, and they don't show you it until the end, and
yeah.
it is so creepy. And there's
Yes,
just because there's
because
one
the
element.
uncle's such a creep.
He's such a great. That guy is such a good
He's a
actor.
great actor. He somehow manages to be completely an over the top villain while also being incredibly realistic, and
Yep.
that makes him more frightening because
Yeah.
you can believe him somehow. But he's so over the top, and it's amazing how he's able to pull that off.
So spoilers again. We're in spoilers, but
Yeah,
the fact that it was an octopus,
yeah,
because that completely then, because this is all at the end, so then makes you think about, because the aunt, Hidiko's aunt killed herself, and the uncle made basically the body stay,
yeah,
and the aunt killed herself because of the treatment by the uncle. And that's when you learn, because the movie does a really great job not holding your hand. It doesn't exactly show what he does, but you get the idea mainly because you see a gigantic live octopus in a tank.
yeah. But
And
also, there's that erotic fiction book where
yep,
like the octopuses are all around the girls. So like it doesn't tell you these things, but
y-
you're able to make those connections too.
yep,
And it's like you just know that she's just maybe as a kid had to read that book, and now just like as an adult, she's just terrified of.
yeah. It's
Yeah,
masterful. It's great uses of kind of like tension building and holding expectations, holding. It's basically like it's a really great movie of letting the audience kind of
yeah.
build their own conclusions. I really love the count. I really love the count.
He's a scumbag, but he's very interesting. Like
So
he's a
basically,
bad guy, but yeah, he's a great character too. Like
I
you
don't
understand his motivation.
I don't necessarily think he's an entirely bad guy. I think there's this great point where I think one of the best the most well done scene in the movie is the book readings.
Yeah,
Those are the
my
best
favorite
scenes.
shot of the whole movie is not to interrupt you, but just very quick
Yeah.
aside. My favorite like shot of the whole movie is when is like in the flashback where the aunt's reading doing the
Yeah.
live reading, and then like as he's reading it, like the assistant like pulls like the windows back, and you get
Yeah.
like the background of like the snow falling.
Yeah.
Such a great shot. I love
It's
that shot.
great.
Yeah,
It's really well done. But what I love about the Count is the Count clearly has motivations that are established in the movie,
yeah,
but he's also slowly becoming indoctrinated into the society, and you see it with the book reading, where this is great. I'm kind of like in awe of it, but you can basically see him as Hideko starts to read the books, and he's part of the group that there's a clear distance established between the older gentlemen who are doing this and have been doing this for a long time and him. He doesn't react well, they react to stuff, but you see in his eyes, and this is what I love about the actors that Park Chan-wook gets, um where you can kind of see him slowly becoming transfixed in it, and
yeah.
that eventually becomes full circle when they run away in their hotel, and the count is like, yeah, like, I know women love it like this because you were reading it in your book, and you
Yeah.
see, like, you're like, he got ensnared, but he's ultimately kind of redeemed in the end, which the movie's not violent at all,
But the end, like
but the with like the
his torture
slow,
scene is pretty brutal.
oh my god, because it's done like, I expect, mainly because the only torture movies I've really seen are like Hostel. I'm not a
Yeah,
big torture guy, but just like the slow, like, so basically he's getting like his fingers slowly cut off
yeah.
by a paper cutter, and he's not reacting at it. Basically, he kills himself in the. Oh,
Sorry, but he's being tortured because the uncle wants to find out where Lady Hideko is.
not that
That's
that, but he wants information about what she's like in bed.
yeah, yeah, true.
Um, it's great. I don't know. His whole character of kind of like, hey, he has clearly established motivations. Oh, Matt froze.
Okay,
Hello?
I'm
Oh,
back. Yeah,
okay, you're back. We have really bad internet. Sorry, guys.
yeah. Well, my internet's pretty bad right now, but it's at least like the pauses aren't as long as they were.
No,
Now
I'm
they've
not.
moved.
I can always go and cut them out. I won't, but you know.
Yeah.
So, what are your favorite parts about the movie? Going into spoilers.
Oh, I just want to talk about his like redemption again
Yep.
really quickly because you kind of cut out for a little bit, but I just want to include the fact that he sort of gains more respect for Hideko like towards
Yep.
the end, as you can tell, because the count wants to know all like the details, and he's like, "How dare you insult her honor?" or
Yep.
whatever. And then at the end, like his last thoughts are because earlier on when they're outside and she's like, I don't want to like kiss you or anything. And he's like, oh, I'll just imagine you as being Lady Juliet, who is the character she played in that in that live erotic reading that she did. So
Yep.
he doesn't see her as a human being; he sees her as like a sex symbol, basically at
Yep.
that moment. And then at the end, he finally views her as a human, and his last thoughts are of her as kind of as a real person.
Yeah.
Interacting in reality. So I thought that was a very nice redemption for him at the end too.
Yeah, he's clearly it's such a great because there are really only 4 main characters in the movie.
Yeah.
And it's very clear by the poster too. It's just the 4 characters.
Yeah.
But you have your clear established romance, your villain who's redeemed, and then your villain who you kind of get that aha moment. We got you.
Yeah.
But it's really smart because that cigarette or basically is Chekhov's gun. Because you see him constantly taking the white cigarettes, but the blue ones are already there, and you find out the blue ones are laced with mercury.
Yeah.
So he smokes it, kills himself. You see him ask, he's like, "There's no windows in here, right?"
Yeah.
And then he kills himself.
And the uncle and
Yep. But there's also this great shot where he kind of accepts his death by breathing in the smoke more.
Yeah. That's when he's saying the flashes of Hideko.
Yeah, so. And you hear his breathing kind of just taking it in. It's great. He's honestly like, he was my favorite character because I love when he comes and knocks on the door and he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna be honest. This is who I am, and this is what I'm gonna do. But I can give you freedom."
Yeah.
He's like, I'm a bad person, but I can give you freedom. I know what's going on right now. But then, so you clearly establish a distance between him and all the real bad people. But then he becomes kind of like ensnared by it, interested in it, and then you get his redemption. It's great.
Yeah.
I don't know. What are your other favorite parts of the movie?
So I just like very specific points in history.
Yep.
Like, so for example, I mean, how many there are like a million World War II movies, a million Cold War movies. Like, here's Dunkirk. Here's a story that you already know what's going to happen in it, how it's going to play out. Like, this is so. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. So this is such a specific time. Like, Japanese occupied South Korea is very specific in itself.
Yeah.
But then putting further, like, narrowing it down even more to like the domestic sort of what's it called, like the feminist side, I guess, of that era too. So there's a lot of like really so for a little bit of a history lesson, if you will.
Go for it.
The Japanese were basically trying to like erase Korean culture at the time when they were occupying it, and so like in schools, like kids would have to learn Japanese, not Korean.
Yep.
And something like hundreds of thousands of Korean women were basically turned into sex workers at the time. So there's a lot of animosity still for Koreans today against Japanese. I think recently I saw some Inside Gaming video where they are posting like where it's like the Sonic company, what's it called, Bandai or whatever.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
was making Sonic shirts, and they had like Japanese writing on it, and they were being shipped to like South Korea.
Yeah,
and like the South Koreans were really upset because they don't want really much to do with Japanese culture, because that era has been largely erased, at least in the West, and the way that the Japanese treated the Koreans at the time was very brutal.
Yeah,
and it's not really talked about very much here, and you see that like throughout like the whole movie, and especially like during the Lady Hideko flashbacks.
Yeah,
and like there's that scene where like they're reading like the book, her and her aunt, and like the uncle just walks up and puts like his hands over their mouths.
Yep.
And like they have like their freedom. Their hands are free. They can try to resist, but they don't. They choose not to, because they know like the consequence is gonna be worse if they try to resist, and there's something they can do about it. And there's also like the fact that the uncle is trying to get the aunt thrown into an insane asylum, but he's the one who's clearly insane. He's the one who's torturing her, and she's becoming insane because of his torturing. And he's completely crazy, and yet he's viewed as being normal.
Yeah,
so
you get
there's all these subtle things that they point out that I think are really brilliant.
Yeah, you get a lot of that language animosity.
Yeah,
a lot of
and
times
like you can tell that direct like Park Chan-wook is still very bitter, rightfully I guess bitter towards like Japanese occupation of Korea.
Yeah,
because the Japanese aren't really portrayed in a particularly good light in this movie.
No, yeah, a lot of the times maids around are speaking Japanese, and they slap them and like, "Hey, speak Korean."
Yeah,
basically like that. There's a lot of language. That's actually very interesting. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this movie is. It's just kind of like it should be the textbook way on how to kind of subvert expectations. Really cliche way to say, but
in a satisfying way, unlike Ryan Johnson in Star Wars, where it's like, oh, you thought he would turn lightsaber on and be like, oh, this is so cool. No, he throws it behind his back.
Look at him go. He's so cool.
I like Ryan Johnson. Knives Out's a really great movie.
Yeah, right. Knives Out is a really great movie.
Yeah.
I like Looper. You don't.
I like the first half of Looper.
And then it gets stupid, is basically what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like The Last Jedi.
Yeah, I mean, Last Jedi was kind of bad throughout, though.
We should rewatch Last Jedi for one of these things.
It took me 3 sittings to rewatch Last Jedi.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I couldn't.
Oh
It took me 3 sittings to do it.
Well, when we eventually do our Star Wars podcast, we'll bring on another voice who we can force to rewatch The Last Jedi so we don't have to. We can just look up the Wikipedia summary.
Yeah.
I remember that. Mark, what do you say?
One more thing I want to talk about in this movie that I think is fantastic is the soundtrack.
Yes.
The score in this movie. I've listened, I didn't buy the soundtrack, but it's on YouTube.
Yeah.
So I've listened to songs from that, the music during the montage of the aunts. The music. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah. The music during the flashback of the aunt's suicide is really great.
Yeah.
The song.
Matt's family walked into camera. That's why there was that awkward pause.
Yeah, the song where just go this way, but whatever. The song where Suki and Hideko are escaping not escaping, but they're leaving the mansion.
Yep.
When they're especially the second time, when they show it again, it's that music there is really good. The song's called My Tamako, My Suki. Oh, that's also going back to the Japanese thing. She should change her name too when she gets when she has to start working with in the palace. She can't be Suki anymore. She has to be Tamako because it's a Japanese name, things like that. So yeah, the soundtrack I think is phenomenal, and I think it's worth listening to on your own too, because whoever composed it, it's very brilliant in my opinion.
Yeah. So that's basically Handmaiden. Basically, if you want, again, graphic content, but if you want one of the more believable romances put to film, with kind of actually, because I think the Before trilogy is great, and I think there's a really great example of this, but they're clearly a movie with one set goal. Hey, we just want to develop this relationship. The Handmaiden has that, but it also has kind of actual...
There's conflicts.
Yeah, there's conflict. There's other narrative elements
against them, and then it's rewarding when they finally get to be with each other, because they have literally everything is going against them. They manage to overcome it.
Yeah, it's basically it's one of those movies, because again, the Before movies are a great aspect of how to build characters, but The Handmaiden does this, but has a complete movie around it. It has a complete movie that is incredibly well done in every other element too. It's not just well done in cinematography.
And it's a history. It's a history lesson too, which is interesting.
It's a near perfect kind of combination of other elements. And I'm again, this is a movie I'll probably end up rewatching soon, just so I can get a whole kind of gist of it again.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's The Handmaiden. So
now
now
the 4th time last night, my best viewing of the movie.
Oh my god, it's the best. All right, Matt, we'll briefly talk about what we watched recently.
Yeah.
So
I have one thing to talk about. So
go for it. What have you watched recently?
So I'm starting to watch Community. It's on Netflix. And,
nice.
I've heard it's a Dan Harmon written a TV show.
Oh, interesting.
And it's directed by the Russo brothers. That's basically how they got the job for
They directed Community.
Yeah.
How on earth did they go from Community to?
I don't know.
Civil War. Wait, what did they direct? What's it called? The first one, that second Captain America movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Winter Soldier.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's a sitcom. It's 30-minute sitcom show, and it's about this lawyer who gets he didn't get his he didn't pass the bar, but he forged so it looked like he passed the bar.
Oh my god!
But then it gets found out, and then he has to go back to community college. That's all he can afford to go to go back to school and learn about becoming a lawyer. And it's that Dale guy. I can't remember what his name is. If you saw his face, you know what?
I have no idea who Dale is.
If you saw his face, you know who he was. And it's just a funny show. I'm only 8 episodes into the first season, but I was looking for a sitcom to watch, and I think it's one of the better ones. It's not a film in front of a live city audience kind of sitcom. It's like a cinematic TV show, I guess.
Yep.
And there's some really nice characters, and it's pretty funny, and not very cliche. Like a lot of sitcoms are kind of you kind of know what to expect when you watch them.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Big Show, but that show is also awesome.
Big show's a great show.
It has some dark humor, but it's overall it's pretty lighthearted. And I think that if you are looking for a fun sitcom to watch that's pretty clever, I think that Community would be the show to watch.
Is it 20-minute episodes or whatever?
Yeah, about.
Okay, how many seasons?
There's like 5.
It's 5 episodes per season.
It's like a sitcom. You can just watch it whenever you want. Like you don't have to be.
You have to kind of adhere to
like,
it. Okay.
Yeah.
Is it all right? Yeah.
There's no like continual plot. It's just like episodes. And
No,
it's pretty clever, so I think check it out.
check it out. Is it on Netflix?
Netflix, yeah, I just got added. That's why I started watching it. Because I wanted to watch it for a long time because it was like a cult hit kind of thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'm enjoying it. I can understand why people like it.
Yeah, that's good. I watched a few movies recently because I'm a loser and
Joel Kinnaman is
Joel Kinnaman. Yeah, he's Joel Kinnaman, the dude who's in he's the RoboCop guy, and he's also in.
That's not the right person.
Are you thinking of like Joe McHale?
Maybe. Wait, let's wait.
Hold on,
I'm gonna look it up.
Matt's gonna look up. All right, well, I'll talk about the 3 movies I watched.
I promise I like this show.
I really so recently I watched The Farewell, and I don't really have a lot to say about that hasn't already been said. But after watching that, I think it further. Joe McHale, yeah. I know who you're talking about. He was in Spider-Man 2. He was a banker.
Oh.
And I don't know why I know that, but he's the one who Aunt May goes to get a toaster, and he's like, "You have to make a deposit of $300 or more." I'll make you rewatch Spider-Man 2 one day. Matt just looked dead in the eyes. I watched The Farewell. It's one of the best directed movies of 2019. After watching that, it's even becoming even more deplorable. But the fact that Todd Phillips got a Best Director nomination over a lot of people, I think the person who directed it, I didn't look it up. It's a phenomenal movie. More people should be seeing this. It's incredibly well directed and acted, and I loved everything about it. Let's see. I watched Air Force One, Harrison Ford, Gary Oldman.
Oh.
Get off my plane.
Yeah.
It feels like after watching that movie, it feels like they made that one line where they're like, "What if someone like kicked a guy off a plane?" It said, "Get off my plane." It feels like they wrote an entire movie about that because Harrison Ford has no one-liners in the movie. The movie's not a quippy movie, but as soon as he says that, the music cuts out, clearly on purpose. But it feels like the entire movie was written around that one idea. It's also really solid. Feels like it's basically a bottle episode movie. I was really digging it. Harrison Ford, as kind of like an older president, kind of really sells it. That was fun. Gary Oldman's kind of great too. And then I watched Bumblebee, and I really want to talk about this movie because I turned on Bumblebee so I could edit the second episode of the podcast. I was like, I'll just put on something stupid. I was going to originally put on Transformers 3 Dark of the Moon, the best Transformers movie.
Yes.
But I was like, the best movie ever. But I actually put on Bumblebee, and it didn't really get much work done. It's the first 20 minutes of the movie are phenomenal. It's really exciting, and it's basically what a Transformers movie should be, except it still falls into the point of Haley Steinfeld's a lot better than Shia LaBeouf, and it still falls into the, hey, look, we have to have human drama, and whoa, kind of that stuff. And it's not really that interesting, but it's a really well done action movie. The fights are smart and creative and filmed well, and John Cena's in it. And there's a scene in the movie where John Cena goes, "There's a door in my way," and they blow up the door. Oh, Matt froze. Damn it. Matt froze. Hello, Matt?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, did you hear what I said?
You said, I heard there's a scene, and then...
okay. So basically, there's a scene in the movie where John Cena plays a campy 80s villain, and he does it really well.
He's a villain?
We're not a villain, but he's like the military guy.
Oh.
But there's a scene where... basically, the door is one of those garage doors that you can open and shut because one of the characters just shuts it like that. And John Cena struts up and goes, "There's a door in my way," and then blows it up. It's great, but he's just a campy 80s military guy, and he hams it up. And there's a few scenes where he's just walking around with a giant gun pointed. Yeah. He's just kind of like he's just awesome. Holding a gun. It's so great. But
Is this on Amazon?
It's on Amazon Prime. Yeah, it's like an hour and 50 minutes long. Haley Steinfeld's solid. It actually has solid character elements, but it's charming. It's a charming movie, and then when it has to be an action movie, it's a good action movie. Because one thing that's great about the Bumblebee movie compared to the Transformers movie is Transformers movie is loud and it's stupid. Hey, sorry. Fine, I'll talk about Revenge of the Fallen. There's no these Transformers are anthropomorphic, I think. It's human qualities or walk on 2 feet or whatever. But they really just feel like they're just punching each other. and whoever just punches a little bit harder wins. In Bumblebee, Bumblebee's like a really smaller transformer, so he has to
And
actually.
it's like how the conflict is, can I punch this guy harder than he can punch me?
As long as I don't die before.
That's the clever final fight. Who can get more face punches than?
Yeah, if I only get hit 4 times, but I hit him 5, then I win. And there's that.
Or the clever ending of Dark of the Moon, where the bad guy's crying on the ground and begging for his life,
and Optimus Prime executes him,
shoots him in the face
when he begs for mercy.
Optimus, no,
don't do it. Don't you like how Optimus Prime is like the noble hero and he massacres him?
And he shoots him in cold blood.
Optimus, don't do it. We're past forgiveness.
When I was a kid, I was like, that's so awesome.
Yeah, like he's a badass. Do you like how at the end of Dark of the Moon, it's because you just set up 2 movies where he fights Megatron, these great battles, and Optimus Prime is one arm, Megatron, it's just it's you and me, Prime, now, and he goes, no, it's just me, and then rips his head off.
You like the scene where in Transformers 1 where Shia LaBeouf like has a cord attached to Megatron and he's like flinging around everywhere?
That's 3, and that's Starscream.
Oh, okay.
Where he shoots the thing and Starscream's like, my eye,
Yeah,
and then flies around. And Shia LaBeouf's like going through buildings. We have to rewatch these movies.
Transformers 3 has one amazing action set piece, and it's the falling
building, yeah.
Yeah.
But don't you like when the girl falls and he catches her? His arm would just rip off.
Yeah.
And she dies and he's just one arm. I still love the ending of Dark of the Moon. We have set up 3 movies now where he's just like, hey, I'm the noble guy. And then I love how his final fight with Megatron is 30 seconds and he rips his head off.
It's character growth. He started off as a noble hero, and then by the end he's like, I'm just gonna shoot these guys in the face.
He's like, what am I doing?
Optimus didn't want Transformers 4, so he thought if he just killed all the bad guys,
He's like, I'm done.
there'd be no more plot.
No, but then he was back for 4 and 5.
Yeah, Transformers 4, underrated movie.
No, it's not. Shut up.
It's great.
No, shut up. But yeah, so basically Bumblebee, the point of Bumblebee was he's a smaller transformer, and he actually used like intelligence to beat the bad guys, and it's well done. Yeah, boo. I'm gonna watch him rip a guy's head off.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Bumblebee's a really solid movie. And I also started watching The Expanse show. I watched 2 episodes. It's definitely a show because The Expanse. I read the first 2 books, and I'm in the middle of reading the 3rd book now. And it's definitely a show. The first season, at least, you can tell is one that's limited by budget.
Yep.
I also there's the guy who plays Jim Holden is exactly how I pictured him to be. But the one difference is I didn't picture Amos to look like that because in the books he's kind of like he's a little bit different. Oh, he cut out again. That bastard. What terrible internet, Matthew? Oh, he's back.
Yeah. Oh my God. I don't know why it's so bad today.
We'll figure it out for episode 4. But Amos just feels like a little bit different. But I'm digging it. I like the show so far. 2 episodes in. I'll probably watch another one today if I get a chance. So yeah. Watch Bumblebee. Honestly, it's on Amazon Prime. It's an hour and 50 minutes long, and it's campy, but it's purposely campy, and it's basically like there are elements where it's basically giant middle finger to Michael Bay. It's kind of great.
Oh, okay. I don't
so
like
yeah,
that.
yeah. That's like, God damn it.
Would you say it's better than Dark of the Moon?
No, nothing's better than Dark of the Moon.
Yeah.
We've established that because of the ending of Dark of the Moon.
Cinematic masterpiece.
All right, so that's so basically now we have to do a recommendation for next week, and I juggled a few movies. I really wanted to make you watch Boyhood, but I won't make you do that. I was actually very much contemplating because I was trying to think of movies I want to rewatch. This did not make the cut, but this is my second choice. Was I really wanted to rewatch Avatar, the 2009 James Cameron movie.
Okay, we can do it at some point, but
I didn't feel like it because I looked at the runtime and forgot it was almost 3 hours long.
yeah, and you realize it's just an Alien ripoff, but worse.
But yeah, so
Aliens.
basically, Aliens. No, it's not. It's what's it called? It's not Princess Mononoke. Whatever that trope is. People join the village and it's native. It's not Aliens.
No, but like a lot of like the visual stuff is very reminiscent.
But like narratively, it's not anything different. But okay, ready? The movie we're gonna watch next week. You already know it. I already told you about it. I don't know why I'm building suspense. is one of my favorite Liam Neeson's movies. They came out in the mid 2010s that people just forgot about because it was in that number of Liam Neeson does action movies.
Yeah.
It's Walk Among the Tombstones, a 2013 Liam Neeson movie.
I'm hyped.
That we're gonna rewatch. I don't know. We'll probably have to stream it some way or find a way. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
I know what you're talking about.
When we were talking about, we're gonna buy it legally on Amazon Prime. That's basically the movie I want to watch because I remember really liking it.
I remember liking it too because it was
Smart.
like smart, like kind of dark detective movie.
Yeah.
I like those movies a lot.
Yeah, I am absolutely a fan. So, any parting comments? So next week we're gonna watch Walk Among the Tombstones. If you want to watch with us,
If this recording somehow goes bad in this whole Handmaiden discussion, like this gets deleted, I'll be so upset.
Yeah, and then
So
our
that's
Dark of the Moon. I'd honestly be more upset if our Dark of the Moon discussion got deleted.
Oh yeah, Handmaiden is garbage compared to that movie.
Yeah, I mean, come on. If you're gonna
I'm glad
rewatch,
you finally watched Handmaiden.
Yeah. I'll try to get whatever movie because I imagine you have a few movies on the docket you're gonna make me watch now.
Yeah, you kind of watch a lot of movies. Like you saw Cavalry, you've seen the Cold in July, you've seen Handmaiden, you've seen The Host. You've seen
I take your recommendations, but 4 years later.
Yeah, basically.
All right, Matt, this was fun. We'll be back next week for episode 4 and Walk Among the Tombstones.
Adios.
All right, see you.